What happens when a two-time Oscar winner known for her calm, composed presence sits across the table from one of the most outspoken political commentators on daytime television? And the conversation suddenly stops being polite. Make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. So the moment starts normally. The audience is clapping, the theme music fades, and the hosts are smiling as they welcome Cate Blanchett to the table. She walks out graciously, waving, dressed elegantly but understated. Exactly what you'd expect. She hugs the hosts one by one. Whoopi Goldberg smiles warmly. Joy Behar makes a quick joke about Kate's height and heels. Sunny Hostin compliments her latest film. Alyssa Farah Griffin nods politely. Everything feels comfortable. Whoopi leans in first. We're so happy you're here. Congratulations on the new project. Kate smiles. Thank you. It's lovely to be here. I've heard this table can be lively. Audience laughter. Joy jumps in. Lively is one word. Dangerous is another. More laughter. The first few minutes are easy. Discussion about acting, balancing motherhood and career, the discipline of theater versus film. Kate speaks thoughtfully, measured, never rushing her words. The audience listens closely. You can feel that quiet respect in the room. Then Sunny pivots slightly. You've also been very vocal recently about global humanitarian issues. Kate nods. Yes. I think when you're fortunate enough to have a platform, you should use it responsibly. Alyssa shifts in her seat. It's subtle at first, but you can see she's preparing to enter the conversation. Whoopi notices it too. Sunny continues. You've spoken about displacement and refugees, especially through your work with the UN. Kate responds calmly. I've spent time in camps. I've met families who've lost everything. It changes you. It makes political debates feel very personal. The audience murmurs softly, empathetic. Alyssa finally speaks. Her tone is polite but firm. I think everyone agrees compassion is important. But when celebrities speak about policy, sometimes it feels disconnected from the real economic concerns Americans are facing. The air changes slightly. Kate turns to her, still smiling. Disconnected how? Alyssa doesn't hesitate. Well, for example, advocating for expanded refugee intake without acknowledging border security concerns or resource allocation. There are trade-offs. There's a brief pause. Joy raises her eyebrows. Oh, here we go. Audience laughter, nervous this time. Kate keeps her composure. I don't think compassion and security are mutually exclusive. Alyssa responds quickly. But policy requires prioritization. Sunny interjects. Human lives aren't a line item. Alyssa looks at Sunny. Neither are struggling American families. Now the tension is noticeable. Not explosive, but real. Whoopi steps in, attempting balance. Let's let Kate respond. Kate nods slightly. I'm not a policymaker. I don't pretend to be. But I've seen what happens when nations turn inward completely. The consequences aren't abstract. Alyssa leans forward. But with respect, you don't have to deal with the consequences of those policies the same way working-class Americans do. There it is. The first real sting. The audience reacts, a mix of gasps and scattered applause. Kate's smile fades just a touch. Not angry. Focused. I think empathy isn't a luxury reserved for people with money, she says evenly. Alyssa replies, no, but economic strain is real. When people hear wealthy actors advocating for more spending abroad while inflation is crushing them, it feels out of touch. Joy cuts in. Oh, come on, she didn't say that. Alyssa raises her hands slightly. I'm saying that's how some viewers perceive it. Kate takes a breath. You can see she's choosing her words carefully. I grew up in a household where money wasn't endless, she says. This idea that anyone who succeeds suddenly can't understand hardship anymore. I don't accept that. Audience applause. Alyssa nods but doesn't retreat. I respect your background. But today, your life is very different from someone living paycheck to paycheck in Ohio. Sunny jumps in. That doesn't disqualify her from caring about refugees. Alyssa turns slightly. I didn't say it did. Whoopi, sensing the escalation, says calmly, let's keep it at one at a time. Kate looks directly at Alyssa now. The politeness is still there, but it's firmer. Compassion doesn't have to compete, she says. We can address domestic economic concerns and humanitarian crises simultaneously. Alyssa responds, but resources are finite. Kate replies, political will often is too. The audience reacts, louder this time. Joy laughs softly. That was elegant. Alyssa doesn't smile. That's a clever line, but it doesn't solve policy challenges. Cate answers, no single sentence on a talk show does. A few audience members clap again. The conversation is no longer about her film. It's no longer light. You can feel production off camera probably shifting in their seats. Whoopi asks carefully, do you think celebrities should stay out of politics? Alyssa responds first. I think they should be aware of their influence and the unintended consequences. Cate nods slowly. And I think silence is also a political act. That lands heavy. Sunny says, exactly. Alyssa looks slightly frustrated now. But when you speak, millions listen. There's responsibility in that. Cate replies calmly, which is precisely why I choose not to be silent. There's a brief silence at the table. Not awkward. Charged. Joy looks between them. Well, this got serious fast. Audience laughter breaks the tension slightly. But the energy has shifted permanently. Cate folds her hands on the table. Alyssa leans back but keeps eye contact. This is no longer a promotional interview. It's a debate. And it's just getting started. The applause dies down, but the atmosphere doesn't settle. You can feel that something real has started, and nobody at the table is pretending otherwise. Whoopi clears her throat gently. Okay, so let's unpack this a little more. Cate nods, composed again, but more alert now. Alyssa speaks before anyone else can jump in. I think where some Americans get frustrated is that Hollywood often frames issues in moral absolutes. If you disagree on policy details, suddenly you're against compassion. That shuts down debate. There's a ripple in the audience, a few claps, a few murmurs. Cate responds without hesitation. I don't believe in moral absolutes in politics. I believe in moral responsibility. Sunny leans in. There's a difference. Alyssa turns slightly toward Cate. But when public figures say things like silence is violence, or imply that stricter immigration policy equals cruelty, that alienates people who have legitimate concerns. Cate tilts her head. I didn't say stricter policy equals cruelty. Alyssa responds quickly, not today. But culturally, that's the messaging people hear. Joy jumps in. You're kind of putting words in her mouth. Alyssa shakes her head. I'm explaining voter perception. The tension isn't loud, it's controlled. That makes it sharper. Cate folds her hands together. Can I ask you something directly? Alyssa nods. Of course. When you've met families who've fled war, who've lost children, who've walked for weeks, how do you quantify their suffering against a budget spreadsheet? The audience goes quiet. Alyssa doesn't flinch. You don't quantify suffering, but governments have to allocate finite resources. It's not heartless to acknowledge limits. Cate replies, but who decides those limits? Alyssa answers, elected officials. Voters. Sunny interjects. And sometimes voters are influenced by fear. Alyssa looks at Sunny. And sometimes they're influenced by economic reality. Joy exhales dramatically. Okay, but fear is a powerful political tool. Alyssa responds calmly. So is guilt. The audience reacts, louder this time. A mix of applause and surprised murmurs. Cate's expression tightens slightly. Not angry, but deeply engaged. I don't operate from guilt, she says. I operate from exposure. I've seen what displacement does. Alyssa replies, and I've seen what policy backlash does. Whoopi raises her hand gently. All right, let's not talk over each other. There's a brief pause. Cate speaks again slower. When I speak about refugees, I'm not saying open every border without regulation. I'm saying we should resist dehumanizing language. Alyssa nods once. I agree dehumanizing language is wrong. Sunny jumps in. Then why is it so common in political rhetoric? Alyssa's tone becomes more pointed. It's common on both sides. Joy laughs lightly. Oh, come on. Alyssa continues. There are activists who label anyone concerned about border security as racist. That's not productive either. Cate looks directly at her. But are you equating activist rhetoric with government policy? Alyssa replies, I'm saying polarization happens across the spectrum. The audience claps again, this time more divided. You can feel production probably signaling a commercial break soon, but no one is backing down. Whoopi asks Cate gently, do you think there's a disconnect between celebrity advocacy and everyday American experience? Cate pauses. This is the first time she hesitates longer than a second. I think, she begins carefully, there can be. Yes, absolutely. That's why listening matters. Alyssa leans forward slightly. Listening to whom? Cate answers, to everyone. Not just those who agree with you. Alyssa replies, then do you listen to voters who say they feel overwhelmed? Cate nods. Yes, but I also ask what narratives are shaping that feeling. Sunny says, exactly. Alyssa exhales slightly, visibly trying to remain calm. So when someone says, I can't afford groceries, and they're told the priority should be international resettlement programs, how do you expect them to respond? Cate answers steadily. I expect leaders to communicate that we are capable of addressing multiple crises. Joy jumps in. We're the richest country in the world. Alyssa counters, with $30 trillion in debt. Audience gasps lightly. Whoopi raises her eyebrows. Okay, economist over here. A few laughs break out. Cate remains composed. Debt doesn't negate moral obligation. Alyssa responds quickly. But irresponsible spending can hurt the very people you're claiming to defend. The energy rises another notch. Sunny's voice sharpens. Humanitarian aid isn't reckless. Alyssa turns to her. It can be if it's not structured properly. Cate interjects, still calm but firmer now. So the answer is structure, not abandonment. Alyssa nods. Yes, but the messaging often skips that nuance. There's a pause. Cate studies her for a second. So your issue isn't compassion. It's presentation. Alyssa considers that. It's policy framing. And accountability. Joy says, well, that's the first thing you two have agreed on. Audience laughter, easing tension for just a second. But Cate doesn't smile this time. She leans in slightly. Let me be clear, she says. When I speak about refugees, I'm not drafting legislation. I'm humanizing stories. Alyssa replies, and when those stories influence policy conversations, they carry weight. Cate nods. Good. Alyssa looks surprised. Good. Yes, Cate continues. Because indifference carries weight too. The audience claps loudly. Alyssa keeps her composure, but you can see the intensity in her eyes now. No one here is advocating indifference. Cate responds, then perhaps we agree more than it appears. There's a brief silence. Whoopi senses a small opening. So maybe this is less of a clash and more of a clarification? Joy smirks. Speak for yourself. Audience laughter again. But the mood hasn't softened entirely. It's layered now, intellectual, tense, controlled. Alyssa shifts slightly in her seat. I just think Americans are tired of being told they're immoral for worrying about their own families first. Cate answers quietly. Caring for your family and caring for someone else's aren't opposing acts. Sunny nods firmly. That's right. Alyssa responds, but in politics, prioritization exists. Cate replies, then perhaps the argument is with politicians, not with storytellers. That line lands hard. The audience reacts loudly, applause, some cheers. Alyssa smiles thinly. Storytellers shape culture. Culture shapes politics. Cate meets her gaze. Then we both understand influence. There's a moment, eye contact held longer than television usually allows. Whoopi looks toward the camera briefly, then back at them. We're going to take a quick break. The audience claps, but the energy in the room hasn't dissipated. As the cameras pull back slightly and the music begins to rise, Cate and Alyssa are still looking at each other. Neither angry, neither apologetic, just fully aware that this conversation is far from over. When the show comes back from commercial, the applause feels different, louder, more curious. The audience knows they're stepping back into something unresolved. Whoopi smiles toward the camera. Welcome back. We're here with Cate Blanchett, and as you can see, we're having a thoughtful conversation. Joy mutters playfully. Thoughtful is one word. A few audience members laugh. Cate smiles politely, but her posture is more grounded now. Alyssa sits upright, hands folded, composed but clearly still engaged. Whoopi continues. Before the break, we were talking about influence, responsibility, and how public figures shape conversations. Cate, I want to give you space, because sometimes these discussions can feel like they put you on the defensive. Cate nods. I don't feel defensive. Alyssa glances at her, slightly surprised. Cate continues. I feel concerned. That shifts the tone immediately. Sunny leans in. Concerned about what? Cate answers calmly. Concerned that we've reached a place where empathy is treated like a political liability. The audience murmurs in agreement. Alyssa responds carefully. Empathy isn't the liability. Simplification is. Cate turns to her. You keep saying that activism simplifies. But do you believe sharing lived experiences is inherently reductive? Alyssa shakes her head. No. I think when those experiences are used to suggest there's only one morally acceptable policy outcome, that's when it becomes polarizing. Joy jumps in. But that happens on cable news every night. Audience laughter. Alyssa smiles briefly. I won't argue that point. Whoopi steps in. So here's the bigger question. Should celebrities separate their art from their politics? Cate answers without hesitation. Art is political. Alyssa responds just as quickly. Not always. Cate looks at her. Every story carries values. Alyssa nods slightly. Yes, but not every value statement requires policy endorsement. Sunny interjects. But silence can protect the status quo. Alyssa replies, and constant commentary can create fatigue. There's a subtle shift in Cate's expression, not frustration, but intensity. Do you think I speak constantly? She asks. Alyssa pauses. No, not constantly. Cate continues. I choose moments carefully. I don't tweet policy threads. I speak about what I've witnessed. Alyssa responds, but those moments are amplified globally. Cate nods. That's not something I control. Alyssa raises an eyebrow slightly. Publicists exist. A few audience members laugh nervously. Joy reacts. Oh. Cate doesn't laugh. She stays steady. Yes, they do. And they often encourage neutrality. That draws a louder reaction from the audience. Sunny nods. That's true. Alyssa watches Cate closely now. So you're saying you go against advice? Cate answers plainly. Often. There's a pause, the kind that makes producers nervous. Whoopi gently says, why? Cate takes a breath. Because if you've held a child who hasn't eaten in 2 days, neutrality feels obscene. The room goes very quiet. Even Alyssa doesn't interrupt immediately. After a second, Alyssa responds, softer now. No one is asking you to be neutral about suffering. Cate looks at her. But you're asking me to weigh it against optics. Alyssa replies, I'm asking you to consider consequences. Sunny says, consequences for whom? Alyssa answers, for communities that feel unheard. Cate nods slowly. Then let's talk about that. This is the first time she leans forward noticeably. You say Americans feel unheard. I agree. But who taught them that caring about someone across the ocean means abandoning someone next door? Audience applause grows. Alyssa answers steadily. No one has to teach that. When people are struggling, they prioritize survival. Cate responds, that's human. But leadership should expand compassion, not shrink it. Joy claps lightly on the table. That's the line right there. Alyssa exhales, but keeps her tone measured. Leadership should also respect limits. Cate replies, limits evolve. Alyssa counters, reality doesn't. Sunny raises her voice slightly. Reality includes global instability. Alyssa turns toward Sunny. And it includes small businesses closing. The tension rises again, this time more emotionally charged. Whoopi steps in, firmer now. Let's not talk over each other. There's a brief silence. Cate shifts slightly in her seat. Can I ask something personal? Alyssa nods cautiously. Sure. When you were in government, Cate says evenly, did you ever feel pressure to frame issues in ways that were more politically strategic than morally honest? The audience reacts. That's a pointed question. Alyssa sits very still for a second. That's an interesting question, she says. Joy mutters, translation yes. Audience laughter breaks tension briefly. Alyssa smiles thinly. Politics is messaging. Messaging matters. Cate replies quietly. Exactly. Alyssa continues. But governing also requires compromise. Cate nods. Art requires compromise too. But I won't compromise on basic humanity. The applause is immediate. Alyssa's composure tightens slightly. No one here is anti-humanity. Cate responds. Then perhaps the disagreement isn't about compassion, but about fear. That word hangs in the air. Alyssa's tone sharpens for the first time. It's not fear to want order. Cate answers calmly. It's not chaos to welcome people thoughtfully. Sunny says, that's a fair point. Alyssa looks at Sunny. Thoughtfully is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Joy laughs loudly. But Cate doesn't break eye contact. It should. Thoughtfulness is work. There's a beat. Alyssa asks directly, do you believe America has handled immigration responsibly? Cate pauses. No nation handles it perfectly. Alyssa presses. That wasn't my question. Cate answers. I think improvement is always necessary. Alyssa leans in. That sounds diplomatic. Cate responds, it is. Audience laughter again. But the exchange feels sharper now, more direct. Whoopi glances toward the producers again, but lets it continue. Alyssa says, let me be blunt. Do you think critics of current immigration levels are acting out of prejudice? Cate replies carefully, some are. Some aren't. Alyssa nods slowly. That's fair. Cate continues, but broad stroke rhetoric harms everyone. Alyssa responds, on that we agree. There's a small, noticeable softening, but not resolution. Sunny asks, so what's the solution? Cate answers, nuanced policy. Human-centered language. Alyssa adds, and realistic enforcement. Cate looks at her. Those two don't have to conflict. Alyssa replies, in practice, they often do. The audience reacts again, divided vocal. The energy is at its peak now, not shouting, not chaos, but fully engaged, intellectually and emotionally. Whoopi finally steps in decisively. All right, we're going to wrap this up in a moment. But the look between Cate and Alyssa says it clearly. Neither feels finished, and neither feels defeated. The conversation has moved beyond surface disagreement. It's personal now, not in anger, but in conviction. And everyone watching knows this moment won't just fade when the cameras stop rolling. Whoopi exhales slowly, giving that look she gives when a conversation has gone somewhere deeper than expected. All right, she says calmly, before we lose our entire schedule for the day. The audience laughs lightly, tension easing just a bit. But I do want to say this, Whoopi continues. This is what this table is for. We don't all agree. We're not supposed to. There's applause. Cate sits back slightly now, hands folded again, posture composed. Alyssa adjusts in her chair, taking a small breath, the intensity still there but no longer sharp. Joy jumps in. I will say this. I love when people can disagree without flipping tables. Audience laughter. Sunny nods. And without dehumanizing each other. Alyssa glances at Sunny, then at Cate. I don't think we dehumanized each other. Cate shakes her head gently. No, we didn't. That's the first clear moment of mutual acknowledgement. Whoopi looks at Cate. Final thought. 30 seconds. Cate smiles slightly. 30 seconds. That's dangerous. Laughter breaks out again. She turns serious. I think we're living in a time where people feel stretched thin, economically, emotionally, politically. And when that happens, it's tempting to narrow our field of care. I just believe expanding it doesn't weaken us. It strengthens us. Applause builds, steady and strong. Whoopi nods. Alyssa. Alyssa sits forward. I think compassion is essential. I don't question your sincerity. What I question sometimes is how policies are presented to people who already feel unheard. My focus is making sure those voices aren't dismissed as heartless. The audience reaction is mixed but respectful. Cate nods once. That's fair. There's a small pause. Sunny adds quietly. Maybe the takeaway is that both things can be true. Joy smirks. Don't get too peaceful now. Audience laughter. But something has shifted. The energy is no longer confrontational. It's reflective. Whoopi wraps it gently. Thank you for staying in it. Both of you. The applause rises again as the segment ends. The camera pans slightly, capturing the audience. Some nodding thoughtfully, some whispering to each other. As the show cuts to the next segment, the table conversation doesn't immediately stop. The mics are still picking up light chatter. Joy leans toward Cate. You handled that well. Cate smiles modestly. I didn't come here to argue. Alyssa, overhearing, says calmly, neither did I. Cate looks at her directly. I know. There's no handshake moment for the cameras, just a brief, respectful nod between them. When the show officially goes to break, producers step in quickly. You can see one staff member approach Alyssa, another check in with Cate. The audience, now off air, is buzzing. Some clap again spontaneously. A few people stand as Cate waves politely before heading backstage. Backstage, according to staff chatter later reported online, the tone wasn't icy, but it wasn't casual either. Cate reportedly thanked the hosts for allowing a real conversation. Alyssa was seen speaking with producers, not upset, but clearly processing. Within minutes of the episode airing on the West Coast delay, social media lights up. Clips of the exchange begin circulating immediately. On X, viewers split into camps. Some praise Cate for staying composed and refusing to back down. Others applaud Alyssa for challenging what they call celebrity moral framing. Instagram comment sections fill quickly. You could feel the tension through the screen. This is why I watch live TV. Finally, a real debate without screaming. TikTok edits appear within the hour. Dramatic captions, zoomed-in facial expressions, slowed down moments when Cate says, neutrality feels obscene, and when Alyssa responds, it's not fear to want order. Political commentators on both sides begin weighing in. Some conservative pundits defend Alyssa, arguing she articulated concerns many Americans share. Progressive voices praise Cate's emphasis on empathy and global responsibility. Entertainment blogs run headlines framing it as a heated clash, though anyone who watched closely knows it was more layered than that. The following morning, clips trend again. Radio hosts discuss whether celebrities should speak on policy. Opinion writers debate the balance between humanitarian advocacy and economic realism. And notably, neither Cate nor Alyssa posts anything inflammatory afterward. No subtweets, no clarifications, no escalation. That silence speaks volumes. Later that week, during another episode, Whoopi briefly references the moment. "We had a conversation the other day that got people talking," she says casually. "That's what we're here for." The audience applauds again. Insiders say ratings for that episode ticked upward compared to the previous week. Viewers don't just want safe interviews anymore. They want friction, substance, real disagreement without chaos. And that's exactly what they got. The moment didn't end in shouting. It didn't end in someone storming off stage. It ended in something arguably more powerful: unresolved tension handled with composure. Cate returned to promoting her film and other interviews, but reporters continued asking about that exchange. She kept her answer consistent. It was a conversation. Alyssa, in a later panel discussion, referenced the importance of not letting empathy override practicality, without mentioning Cate by name. Neither apologized. Neither doubled down aggressively. They both stood in their positions. And that's why the moment lasted. Because it felt real. Two intelligent women with different lenses. Not enemies, not caricatures, but genuinely disagreeing about how the world should work. The audience felt it. The internet amplified it. And the show moved forward. Now we want to know what you think. Was Cate right to frame empathy as non-negotiable? Was Alyssa right to challenge the policy implications? Did this feel like a productive debate, or just another example of growing division? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories.